time to evaluate the Jaguars offseason, but first, we're going to look at what might be a strategy from the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll do it today here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast that is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Shout out to the everydayers for joining us because it is your team every day. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. It's official in playoff mode, man. They are officially ready to go every game day during the NFL playoffs. FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Let me tell you what we're going to do today, man. Possible offseason strategy is going to be revealed. And I said possible because I would not know what their offseason strategy is because I do not work for the Jacksonville Jaguars. However, I'm going to give you an idea based on what I do know, what the Jags have, what they want, and what they need. We may get that wrong too, but guess what? We're going to give it a good try here today before we start actually going through free agency. And then the last part of the show, players to watch. Win tonight, national championship game, Miami, Indiana. I'm going to give you a firsthand look at guys that I want to see how they perform on a big stage. Remember now, scouting isn't a one-game situation, but still to give you a baseline of where you want to go and how you want to look at things in the offseason. All right, let's get going. Possible offseason strategy for the Jaguars. First and foremost, I will explain to you that I've learned more, obviously, about Liam Cohen and James Gladstone, which is where the focus really is James Gladstone, the coaching staff, and the alignment that I expect to go up to Tony Boselli and then down or across to Liam Cohen. So we're just going to focus mainly on that, the scouting department and what they're going to look for. One thing is they keep their word. Remember the other day in the press conference when I asked them if playing guys and bringing guys in and playing them right away off the practice squad or bringing guys up and elevating them, does it help them sell the fact that it's next man up? And he said he didn't think sell was the correct word, but he said, yeah, it shows you that I keep my word. They also keep their word in when they say stuff like being nothing more than yourself. And we joked about it and how it sounded and, you know, how dramatic it came off, you know, like we need you to be nothing more than yourself. I get it. But we joked about it. But now there's kind of proof of concept where you see exactly what they meant and what they were talking about. And the reason why I can say that with confidence is because Rayon Lane did exactly what he did on special teams at Navy. He did that same thing here with the Jaguars. Bayshaw Tootin, they tightened up the ball handling aspect of whatever it was, but he was explosive, very, very decisive as a runner and did exactly what he did on tape, the very best. You go down the list and down the line. BJ Green, he did exactly what he was an undersized guy for Colorado, but he has a lot of twitch and he is a hustler and he gets after it, and he did exactly what he looked like he could do, or whatever the scouting report says that he was going to be as a player, right? So that's the part of this where if you really, really lock in, they were absolutely right about what their intent was and who they were going to bring in. LaQuint Allen Jr. was known as a third down back who was a great pass protection back. Coming into the draft, he could run or could catch, would be a day one contributor on special teams. He was exactly what that was. Didn't get some performances out of Jack Kaiser the way you thought we may have. Some other players, Wyatt Milam never really flexed, but he was able to get some very, very valuable experience and towards the end of the year that he had earned, and then that some of the injuries allowed them to get him on the field a little bit quicker. But you kind of get the point. The point is Travis Hunter, we had a small snippet of it on Monday night in front of everybody. Then he had his best game as a receiver, and he got hurt. So you have to kind of give it incomplete with that, but you know what it is with him, and you know how he's yoked up. And then after he left, all of the things that happened after that, it kind of gave you a glimpse and an idea that they know exactly who they want, why they want, what they want them for. You can't be, you got to be able to mention too, not just the dudes that they brought in. You think about the free agents that they brought in. The guy, Jacoby Myers, okay, the Army didn't work out, but the quick switch and the quick pivot from that to something else, that impressed me. Even though that one thing didn't work out, you don't get the arrogance. You don't get the, well, they're not using him right. You don't get any of that. It's like, we need to find somebody here that can do it, and we go get somebody, and you're going to have a 1-year stay here. Thank you, appreciate you, but see you later. That's what it is. I understand them when they went out and got Emmanuel Ogbah, but guess what? When Strigo and BJ Green started playing better, oh, you know what? We paid you the money. That's cool. But guess what? We got to win games. No harm, no foul. Appreciate you, but there you go. When they go out and get Dennis Gardeck, they said he was an energy guy. They brought energy and brought quickness and a different gate to your defense, right? That's exactly what he was. And then they gave other guys a shot, man, and still are giving people a shot. I would have liked to see Yarsi Abdullah, what he would have been able to do if he hadn't got banged up a little bit. They love Trayvon and how Trayvon was put in a situation. Jarian Jones, Monteric Brown, who we don't know if he'll stay or not, but you see what the impact that they've had on Brenton Strange and Anton Harrison, along with Antonio Johnson. So there's a lot to understand here. Like, they brought people along. Parker Washington is, of course, the biggest one that they were able to bring along. And they're going to need that. And if you think about Gladstone, something that he said at the during the end of year press conference, he said, look, he brought up guys with the Rams that ended up playing a big role in the Rams team and success right now that got contract extensions that when they actually were picked up, they didn't even play much their first year. That makes me think about guys like Jack Kaiser and guys like McLeod. Like, where are they in the player development aspect? I know college with this transfer portal doesn't have a whole bunch of player development anymore, but the NFL still does. So who do they like? What do they like? Where do they feel these guys are in the pantheon or this level in terms of their development, in terms of what their career arc is, age-wise, all of these things. Those are things that we do not know. So we're going to do some things today based on some things that we do have an idea about. Even if we may be wrong about them, we're going to take a stab at it here. In seg 2, what do the Jags have? What do they want? And what do they need? Based on the understanding of the whole operation that I just said, they have a track record of going out and finding people that do exactly the things that they want them to do here. So now you got to figure out what that thing is. What does the team feel like they're missing? By the end of the show, I'm going to tell you, I think they need to be nastier, stickier, and more instinctive on the back end. That'll be helped by Jordan Lewis. That'll also be helped by Travis Hunter's presence. But then I think when that's something that's so necessary for your success, you don't just stop there. Those guys got banged up. So it needs to permeate throughout the entire secondary. So I'll give you a couple of prospects to watch in the game tonight. They both play for the University of Miami. We'll hit that. But more importantly, just go through what they have, what they want, and what they need. We'll do that in segment 2 here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show sponsored and brought to you by Ultimate QB, football legend. You ever wish to become a pro quarterback? How about getting drafted first overall? Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you, and it's called Ultimate QB, football legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number 1 draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness, to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. This is the number 1 QB career mode game on mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. If your flight is long enough, if you're in airplane mode, you can play this. You might be able to get 2 seasons. And by the time you get to that 3rd season, man, you will have the hang of it. Just head over to ultimateqb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search the Ultimate QB in your app store. And we've got something special for you guys. Use the promo code Locked On, all caps, in the games store, and you'll get a free boost at the start of your career. It's Ultimate QB, football legend, QB1. It's your legacy. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to stay locked into every moment than with Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where it always feels good to be right. With football season coming down to its final stretch, now's the perfect time to close it out very, very strong. Prize Picks makes watching the game even more exciting by letting you simply build lineups around your player projections. No draft, no waiting, just football action all the way through the playoffs. Prize Picks is incredibly easy to get started. Pick 2 or more players and choose more or less on their projections. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On NFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, let's discuss it. What do the Jaguars have? What do they want? And what do they need? I'm actually write this down while I'm doing this to make sure that I don't slip up. But they'll also let you know that I kind of do this live. I have an idea of what I want to talk about. Obviously, if you're watching this, you see that. But the Jaguars have a quarterback. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing them get another young guy, a young guy with a whipping arm and who they could bring through the system and be. Backups are important. So if you have a consistent backup, like that don't mean I think they need to get rid of Nick Mullins, but somebody late, like a Luke Altmaier, that they can, bring in and kind of put under their tutelage, something late. But I think they're fine there. On the offensive line, I would like to see them touch it up with 2 or 3 people, one person to maybe compete for a starting position at right guard, and then another swing tackle, and then another versatile player. That means that maybe Chuma Edoga and Walker Little or somebody gets moved or both, but something like that, to continue to add to that area and don't just rest on their laurels. Look for one starter, maybe in the draft. But for the most part, you never want to not accept the starter, but one starter, make McCary your swing guy, bring in another young tackle. So if you do that, you'll have Monheim and Milam from last year, let's just say a second-round guard, and then a third or fourth round tackle. So now you're working with grease, because a good hot grease, because now you got 4 guys in the last 2 years. 2 of them have already gotten some playing time and some experience, and now you'll have developmental guys right behind it, 1 start and 1 developmental guy. That's just the way I would go. In terms of wide receiver, this is where it gets funny, because I know a lot of people are going to probably disagree with me, but I'm going with obviously Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers, 1 and 2. I would re-sign Tim Patrick or try to, and I know we got Travis Hunter coming back. I don't know this, but I will probably see what's out there for Brian Thomas Jr. Unless they know the magic button that they can push, man, and they could get him seemingly back to whatever they thought he was, and he did catch the touchdown in the playoffs, but see what is magically out there, because here's what you're going to need. You're going to need some more production. And I know they like Romeo Dobbs. I don't know what the price would be. They did re-sign Jacoby Myers, but you think about Diami Brown's $10 million, and then if you move on from BTJ and get a draft pick, maybe it's there for you to go and do that. You know what I'm saying? And have those, that's your 1, 2, 3, 4 with Tim Patrick, with Travis Hunter being your 5th receiver. I don't know if that's what they're going to do. It depends on players, probably over positions. Lots of talk about the tight ends. I like the little young tight ends that they have. They could probably get another one in the draft. Maybe let one of the guys that they have go, either keep Munt or Long, along with Morris, and then you want to add something to the room. I'd like to see that in the draft, and I think there's some good ones out there that they could get day 3, possibly. As far as the defense is concerned, this is where it gets interesting for me, because I actually like BJ Green and Strigo at pass rush behind the 2 dudes that you have, but I could also see where if something falls in your lap that you go and get someone. But everybody, a lot of people talk about the Enigbari kid out of from Green Bay, instead of paying, instead of paying Smoot as well as um, Oakball this year, kind of take that money, combined it, get a little bit of a better player who, while he's not a starter, you're going to pay him like a friend starter and go with a 1-2-3 at pass rush with the three guys that they have, and then use BJ and Strigo as your fourth and fifth guy to sprinkle in. That might make a lot of sense. So you'd be getting rid of two veterans for a guy that is better than both of them, but maybe he's not quite a starter, but close to it, and that'll give you a little bit more blue sky moving forward. I can understand doing that. They definitely, in my opinion, need a 3 technique. Everyone knows I have made that perfectly clear. Trying to get somebody to get pass rush in the interior of the defensive line. I don't think they need to move Trayvon. I don't think they need to mortgage players and future picks for Max Crosby, who's coming off of an injury. I wouldn't mind seeing them dive into the 3 technique market and then come back and double it up with a dude that may be able to do a little bit of both in the draft. Remember, no first round pick. So when you think about linebacker, they're going to lose Devin Lloyd. Some people want them to keep Lloyd and move around Foy. I don't think that's going to happen. They still have Ventrell Miller. They do like Jack Kaiser, but this is another spot where I think you'd see them, even if they let Lloyd go, they may bring in another veteran who's just not going to cost as much, somebody like Caden Ellis with Atlanta. Or if they decide to move on, maybe they go young. Maybe they go with the 2 guys that they have now and then go get another dude on day 2 or day 3 of the draft. We'll just have to see. It depends on what their evaluations say. But whatever it is, make sure you understand now that they have a track record already, even if it's just 1 year, of bringing in people that have something special that they do, and they ask those people to do that special thing. You've seen it. They've already done it. Let's look on the back end. Here's where I think they need more and more and more. And maybe this is recency bias because of the game that they just played, where you just would have loved to see some people on the back end make a few more plays. We've already talked about the fact that Jordan Lewis, who was brought in here to do just that, and Travis Hunter, who had done that his entire life, were both not there. And they're probably the 2 most sticky, worthy, and instinctive football players the Jaguars have on the back end. But for how I believe they want to play and how I've watched the playoffs, how they've moved on since the Jaguars even got eliminated in both. The one thing you'll see is teams can score points, but when guys have to be takeaway artists, when guys have to make sure that it comes down to them and the next guy, and they have to have a quick memory, and they got to be yoked a certain way, with all of the was it a catch or was it not a catch, was it an interception, was he there early on PI or DPI, what was the quarterback thinking? Why did he throw that? These guys bait them. It is imperative that you have guys on the back end that are instinctive and that they know how to make plays, and that they play with their feet on fire and they run through every single play and they don't quit. Because we have seen it over and over again, these playoffs, exactly how important it is. And we saw it also by default, how important it is for the Jaguars when they didn't have that, whether it be based on injury or depth. It does not matter. You can't put yourself in that position. So we know they'll have those 2 guys, but what do they go out and get in the offseason? From a team standpoint, they're going to get faster. I think they're going to get more explosive. They want more explosives. But then they're going to get more heavy to deal with, more difficult to deal with at the point of attack. And guys that can absolutely tackle in space and break tackles in space. I'm going to give you a couple of players to watch from the national championship game tonight. And then we have the squad show coming up later on the day. Of course, I'll probably mention these prospects as well. So some names from the game tonight to watch as Miami and Indiana play for the national championship. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Wild card round is done. The divisionals We're done. We are moving to conference championship round, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game, every day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts. You can apply the bets you like the most, apply them to the bets that you like the most. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. All right, rolling out, finishing out here on Locked On Jaguars. Make sure you tap into the Everydayers Club. Look down in the description. You'll get a little bit more for just a little bit more. That's right. We'll always be here every single day because it's your team every day. But if you want a little bit more access, you want audio episodes that are ad-free, as well as you can get to our merch store. I could not find the word. It escaped me. But you have access to our merch store where I get those great Locked On shirts and hats that you guys see me with, as well as other things. Make sure you tap in for Everydayers, the Everydayers Club in the description. All right, here's what we got, man. Players to watch in tonight's game. It's easy to sit here and tell you guys to watch out for Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain ain't going to be nowhere near on the board when the Jacksonville Jaguars pick. So I'm not even going to sit here and waste your time to tell you to watch Ruben Bain. I don't think Markel Bell is going to be on the board when the Jaguars pick either, the left tackle from Miami. So I will not waste my time telling you to watch him, and Malachi Tony can't play in the league for at least 2 more years, so don't watch him either. Carson Beck could be a dude now for the Jaguars if he's going to slip to the 2nd or 3rd round, and I don't know that he will. That'd be the kind of dude you want to be Trevor's backup. I'm not saying that the Jaguars need to use a pick to take Carson Beck, but I am telling you that if there is some slippage, he'd be the perfect guy to me, not just because he's a homegrown talent, but because I can see his skill set. Teams are going to start. There's literally a team playing in the AFC Championship game right now with a backup quarterback, and nobody is thinking they can't win it. People think Denver got a shot because it's important. So just the main thing I wanted you to look at was Akeem Mesidor is 6'3", 280 pounds. He is the perfect odd front defensive end or strong side defensive end. I don't think he's going to be available. I think when you see the way these teams play that are getting down to the nitty gritty, this is a copycat league. You just want dogs that can get after it. And you look at teams like New England, they got a lot of people that people didn't want. You look at, of course, the Broncos. Seattle's defense is full of them. The Rams got these Cane Corsos or Conde Corsos that some of them are undersized. You want dudes that play a certain way, and this is a good playoff, and this is a good time for guys like Akeem Mesidor to be sitting there. I think he's a late 1st-round pick. I don't think he gets to the 2nd round. I will tell you, though, there are 2 players that kind of line up with my line of thinking about what the Jaguars need. They both play for Miami. One is Keonte Scott, the nickelback, and the other is Jacoby Thomas, the safety, number 0 and number 8. They're so good, I get them mixed up when I watch them play. And they play exactly the way I say I want the Jaguars guys to play on the back end. A nickel slash corner in Keonte, and then a pure safety who can play inside of the box and guard the flat, and Jacoby Thomas, and he's very, very instinctive. Yes, inject all of that into my Jaguar veins. Watch the game tonight, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when I tell you what type of dudes are playing in this game that I want the Jaguars. Now, it'll be just my luck, just like John Patrick Myers. He had a terrible game for Denver the other day. As soon as I talk about a prospect, here they go. They're going to have a bad game. Look at the total picture. Evaluation doesn't come from one thing. For instance, the Jaguars last year even said that the McLeod kid that they took out of Auburn didn't have a good Senior Bowl because they made him play out of position, but they liked the fact that he did it and didn't ask questions and never complained. You never know who's watching, man. watching that game tonight too, we're not going to get Fernando Mendoza, nor do we need him, but you will get a chance to see him against a very, very good team. One of the best defenses I've seen since the Georgia defenses. They're that good. They're right up there with Alabama, right up there with Georgia, with the way that they play and the way that they're dialed in with Miami. So you'll get a chance to see him and see what he has to do. I still think he's going to be the number 1 overall pick, even though there's a lot of people that don't necessarily agree with that. Wide receivers, yeah, there's some in this game. By the way, there's also one for Miami that I believe is going to be a day 3 pick that I did not mention. Like if the Jags don't go out and add someone in free agency, CJ Daniels, 6'2", 205, about that same size that you would be looking for in a receiver to be your 5th guy to come in here. Yeah, he can play. That might be a late day 2, probably early day 3 guy, but he can get it. 2 of them, Elijah Sarrett for Indiana, as well as Omar Cooper Jr. I don't know if Cooper's going to come out, but he's eligible to. But on the offensive line, there's 2. Pat Coogan, number 78. He's a center, but I think he can play some guard. And Carter Smith, I remember watching Carter Smith a couple of years ago because he went in the transfer portal, and I thought he was going to go play for Florida State. Look at those 2 dudes when you're thinking about, okay, day 2, day 3-ish, who do they like that can help us? You're looking at them as guys just like that. D'Angelo Pons is another one of those dudes, a little bit undersized, but boy, can he play at corner. And when you talk about instincts and being sticky and all of those things that we mentioned, when we think about these players, D'Angelo Pons is a little guy, 5'9", 173, but you've seen the Rams have success with guys that are small like that and that are undersized, especially if you play it a certain way. So watch him too. He'll be number 5 tonight for Indiana. Enjoy the game and also enjoy figuring out what these Jaguars are going to do. We don't know what they're thinking. We're just making educated guesses based on our little bit of experience that we have with them. So it's going to be fun. Make sure you check out the squad show where I'll talk about both of those defensive backs from Miami. We'll do that and more with at 4:30 today live with Neil Bryant as well as Marquise Stockton. All right, we'll see you next time here on Locked On Jaguars. We don't take you for granted at all, man. We appreciate y'all. 27 and a half minutes today. Locked On Jaguars, your team every day.